I'll share with you a personal story. I was 11 years old. I turned on the computer and there it was, America Online. Never mind that it took me 15 minutes to sign on because we were using broadband modems. But the first time I saw a pornographic image, my mind was blown. I'd never seen creativity at this level before. And as a young boy, I started to get hooked on it. Let me ask you, what was the age you started to watch porn? And when did that start to enter your life? And you see, brothers, pornography at the beginning is not a big deal. It's not very damaging. But what it is a absolute distraction, which many of us men use because most of the time at the age of 11, 12, 13, and 14, we're going through puberty and we're going through a lot of trauma. So most of us grew up in households where mom and dad were fighting, where we had financial challenges in the household, where we were being made fun of or bullied by other kids that were more popular in school. And so pornography and video games becomes our escape. Now, usually around the age of 13 or 14, another thing kicks in. We are gifted from God something that I call a monster truck. Monster truck is the testosterone, is the injection that you receive at the age of puberty. And the monster truck is something that we've all received. And most of us never received the instructions manual when it came to this powerful monster truck that we were gifted. The only thing we received was a short class about the birds and the bees and how to use a condom. And oh yeah, don't get her pregnant. Go ahead, get in the driver's seat and go. So most of us at a very young age use this really powerful monster truck and we have no idea how the gears work, how the anti-lock brakes work, how the fuel injection works. All we know is gas and brake, gas and brake. So I don't know if you resonate with my story, but when I started with my driving career in the monster truck, man, I plowed against all kinds of things. Walls, women, all kind of things that I destroyed using this monster truck. And guess what? Because we don't receive the instructions manual for this powerful beast that we are handed, most of us men, we start to create damage and then we start to create destruction, and that destruction starts to turn into shame. So how many of you out there have experienced sexual shame because you used your monster truck in a way that wasn't aligned with your true purpose, with your true emotions? And in fact, you were promiscuous, confused, mixing, matching, going around just to see how this truck works. And I want to share with you some real truth about sexuality and how you can use your sexual energy to really penetrate your life's purpose. Words are carriers of codes of information. And I was shocked when I looked at the definition of this word in the etymology dictionary. Now, the etymology of a word is its core foundation. It's like the gene type of the actual word. I was just very curious last night and I was looking up in the etymology dictionary and I was looking up the word promiscuity. Why? Because for so many years of my life, I was promiscuous. And I thought that the word promiscuous means that you're sleeping around and you're open about your sexuality. And so when I looked up the definition of promiscuity or promiscuous in the etymology dictionary, it said to be confused, to be confused. Another definition of it was to mix without intentionality. Wow. Think about how many times you've been promiscuous as a man. How many times that has caused confusion. How many times have you as a man been promiscuous and it's caused you to mix without intentionality? And yet we know that our intention is the most powerful force in the entire field. We said intention equals prayer. So when we are promiscuous, what we are really doing is we are outside of our intention. We're mixing unintentionally. Promiscuity is confusion. Why is that even important? Well, it's important because our sexual energy, brothers, is one of the most powerful forces in the entire universe. Potency comes from sexual energy, and we can use potency, sexual energy, to meet our life's potential. And so today, I'm going to unfold many of these topics for you so that you're able to connect the dots between how you can be sexually fulfilled and how you can use your sexual fulfillment to get to your goals rather than having your sexual fulfillment distract and confuse and take you away from them. And I'm here humbly to break those false facts that we've been given. Today, I want to give you a informational manual, an instruction manual, which I wish I had received at the age of 12 because I would have by now been something really, really beyond what I am. And we all know that where we are is perfect and is divine. And so in this moment, it is time for us to open the treasure chest of sacred sexuality. And sacred sexuality, what does that mean? Look, there's different types of sexuality. We talked about promiscuity being just mixture and confusion. And then the other side of it would be sacred sexuality. Sacred sexuality is when we as men, we are intentional with our sexual energy, when we are intentional with our sexual decisions. And we are intentional not from a place of fear or shame or what God is going to think of us or what our parents think. No, we are intentional from a place of penetrating with purpose because we know that our time is limited on this earth and that the more intentional we are with precision, we're going in like a surgical tool and using our sexual energy to not only fulfill our sexual desires, not only get sexual and physical enlightenment, but also to achieve the goals that we know we are meant to achieve. And knowing that sexuality is not separate from our life's purpose. So I'd like to do a quick prayer and I'll close my eyes and take a deep breath and say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for giving us this powerful tool, this laser beam of energy that we have earned and we have used in the past in ways that have been out of integrity. God, we bring our sexual energy into integrity. We bring it into full control. And with this control, we open the field of wealth and we open the field of prosperity. We open the field of connection with friends and family, knowing that our sacred tool is actually a wand of healing. It's a wand of connection. It's a wand of wealth, and that we are learning how to stand behind it in a way that is empowered, healed, connected in the light and not in the shadow. God, thank you so much. Aho, amen. So guys, I want to talk to you about sexual potency. And what does sexual potency mean? And what is the benefit of being sexually potent as a man? Guys, the word potency has an etymology of sexual charge. So when you're potent, what that means is you have a charge, a sexual charge. No wonder when somebody's impotent, what does that mean? Impotence means they don't have sexual charge. They're limp energetically when it comes to their sexuality. So here we're looking at how to increase our sexual charge, how to become more potent, because potent is connected to potential. You see, the more potency you have, the more sexual charge you have, the more potential you have to penetrate all the things that you want, your life's purpose. And conversely, when you are impotent sexually, energetically, physically, guess what? You're not able to have potential. So our sexual energy is an absolute part of our potentiality. And the more we are able to cultivate it, nurture it, and use it directionally instead of a buckshot, the more we are able to make progress towards our potential. What I want to propose to you is that potency takes integrity. To be potent, to be focused, to be charged, to be able, even the word charge, you hear charge means charge, run. You ever hear that word in the military when they say charge? You're running towards a direction. You're not running in circles, right? So as we charge towards our purpose, we are supported by our sexual energy. And to be supported by your sexual energy means that there's an integrity that has to happen. What does it mean, integrity? Even a rocket that is being shot towards a target, if it's going out of whack and in circles and it's not integrated, it's not going to hit its target. The same goes for us men when it comes to our sexual energy and our sexual distractions. So the more we are able to stand in the field of integrity, meaning alignment, the more we are able to penetrate deeper into our goals, into wealth, into purpose, and into the hearts of the women who we really value, the hearts of the women who we really want to value. So sexual potency is sexual charge. And we know that when we are impotent, we are not really charged. And the imagery that comes to my mind when a man is impotent is, you ever had sex with someone and you ejaculate and oh my God, you look like this, you're like resting and you're tired and you're like you want a cigarette. That's a sign of sexual impotence. And impotence happens when you release your charge. Interestingly enough, I want to give you a side story. The other night I was meditating on the word potency because I know that potency is such an important part for all of us men to focus on, sexual potency. And I started to recall some ancient wisdom. Have you ever heard of the word omnipotent? If you've heard of the word omnipotent, put it in the chat. I've heard of the word omnipotent, omnipotent, omnipotent. Omni means in all directions. Potent means sexually charged. Omnipotent, sexually charged in all directions. Omnipotent is another word used for God. God is called omnipotent because the energy of God has a sexual charge in every direction. All is possible. And interestingly enough, that they equate omnipotent, potent in sexual charge to God? You mean God itself has a sexual energy? Yes. God itself, the field of possibility, has sexual energy. Many of us have been raised with the imagery of God being an old white man in the sky, and you're like, what kind of sexual energy does this guy have, right? He needs some Viagra, right? But when we look at God as the field of possibility that all of us men who are purposeful are trying to penetrate. We're trying to penetrate the field with our desires, with our prayers, with our intentions. That field itself has a sexual charge. So, why is sexual potency important? It is important because here we are looking at how to use the sexual charge that we were given to be more intentional, to penetrate what we really desire and not be distracted. So, what reduces our sexual potency as men is the following. Number one, distraction. How many times in your life have you been distracted by gorgeous women, by really alluring pornographic images? How many times have you been distracted from goals, from wealth, from purpose by a woman who's got a great figure? How many times? And all of these distractions, guys, are things that suck us out of our purpose. Distraction means you're off track. Distraction. And so often many men go off track inadvertently because we are magnetized to something I call dopamine. And dopamine is the underlying cause of addiction to porn. So anybody watching this video who is watching porn often, by the way, something like 80% of men in America watch porn 3 times a week. So porn is a huge pandemic, and there's no need to shame yourself if you do consume porn. But let me tell you, porn is the number one destroyer of your life's purpose. And what gravitizes us men towards porn initially is the beauty and the novelty. But really, what keeps us in porn is the dopamine addiction. And so many of us guys are addicted to high levels of dopamine. And porn is something that is a dopamine blaster because every time you watch something novelty, it releases massive amount of dopamine in your head, and your brain keeps desiring dopamine. And dopamine is the number one molecule, as the number one thing in your body that is associated with distraction and not focus. So porn is a really, really big toxic distraction and destroyer of men's purposes. And if you're interested, I'm going to host a class next Sunday about how to deal with these types of concerns because I myself was addicted to porn for 25 years. I don't know if many guys can outporn me. I was watching porn like every single day for 25 years. It got so intense that I thought it was normal. And it wasn't till I quit pornography that my entire life changed, entire paradigms changed. The quality of the women that I started to attract. Women were coming to me. The quality was so high when I quit porn. And only after I quit, I realized why. So, for those of the men who are watching this video who are in a pornographic paradigm, number one, let's not shame because 80% of men in America are. And number two, let us give you some help. Let us bring you out of the field of pornography and addictiveness to dopamine and get you addicted to the strongest drug in the world. It's called your life's purpose. And when your addiction shifts from one to another, we want your addiction to be towards purposefulness, to be towards connection with humans, heart centered delivery of what you're meant to create in this world. So, with that, number one thing that reduces our potency as men is distraction. And what I found is really helpful in pulling me out of distraction. Watch this. What I found is really helpful pulling me out of distraction, something we teach within our men's community called radical honesty. Guys, next time you find yourself sucked into a porn or a phone or social media and you're scrolling, and you're like, oh shit, I know this is not good for me, but what am I going to do? I'm stuck. Next time you do that, radical honesty. Are you willing to sit with your spouse and be radically honest and say, "Hey, honey, I want to be honest with you. I've been hiding, and for the last few days, I've been distracted with porn, and I feel scared and sad and shame about that, and I'd love to share that with you so that I no longer hide it because I know that the isolation of it is what's causing it to snowball." So radical honesty, brothers, is a way to pop yourself out of the shadow. And it's a courageous technique of revealing what you've been hiding to someone that really cares about you. A lot of people are waiting for, what do they call it? An interventionist to enter their lives. Dude, you can be your own interventionist. When you start to feel the shame and the emotions associated with porn, that's the perfect time to start to actually reveal it so that you can heal it. Check your emotions all the time. When the emotions are coming out of shame and anger and sadness and scared, the best thing you can do for yourself, brother, is to share the emotions, with somebody who really loves you. And we have a course on how to do it and how it's done, how to articulate it. And brothers who are in our community, throughout the week, we got sessions that you can join. This Tuesday and Thursday, we're doing sessions in the evening about sacred sexuality and how to become more sexually potent. That's the place you can go to experiment with these types of radical honesty expressions. Those of you who are stuck in porn, stuck flirting with a woman that you shouldn't be really talking to, instead of trying to avoid it and get out of it, come share it. Share it in a sacred space. Share it in a space of courage, and you'll see how quickly you can release the toxic behavior. This here is a space that is safe, and we are here to celebrate, guys. So there is no shame in our community. If I sit with you and tell you all the things I've done in my past, I'm no one to judge anyone here. So bring it to our sessions Tuesday night, Thursday night, and talk about your sexual shame, your sexual desires, the sexual challenges you're going through as a way of releasing it and celebrating it. This, guys, is the equivalent of what the church the church calls confessional. Confessional is radical honesty. Is sitting with someone and saying, man, I'm not here to shame myself. I'm not here to like beat myself up, but I've been doing things that are out of integrity with myself and it's making me feel sad and scared. And I just want to feel sad and scared in front of someone so that I'm not punishing myself in private. And that is radical honesty. Radical honesty is opening your heart to the truth of what you're feeling with someone or some people who are not here to punish you. Guys, we've been raised with families that punish us when we do something out of line. How many of your fathers beat you, hit you, put you on timeout when you did something that wasn't appropriate? We don't do that here. At Men of Means, we are here to experiment with ourselves and be able to heal ourselves. And to do that, we find places of gentleness and places of compassion and places of courage where you can say something that you think is really mind-blowing and really like unacceptable. And then you get to see how many other men raise their hand and say, wow, I'm doing that too. So what reduces our sexual potency is distraction and shame. And when we are in a space of porn and chasing women and we're shaming ourselves, guess what? Our sexual energy is diminished. And in order to try to lift our sexual energy, we try to do things that are even more sexually explicit just to get the same sexual energy, but it starts to fade. And we get to a point in our lives as men where we are disconnected with our penis, right? We don't want that for you. I don't want that for you. I want you to have a connection with your penis. I want you to be excited about your sexual expression. I want you to be able to speak of your sexual fulfillment in ways that other men are like, wow, I didn't know that was even possible. I love that. Wow, it's transformative. I want your penis to be a tool of healing for everyone that it comes across rather than a tool of destruction. And the way we do that is through getting back into sexual integrity with so much ease and grace that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know this existed. So distraction reduces our potency. Excessive ejaculation, I said it, excessive ejaculation is a loss of energy. I'm going to do an entire class on this next Sunday. If you'd like to join, I'll give you some information on this. When we ejaculate too often, it reduces our biological energy. This is why in French, when someone ejaculates, the French term for it is small death. Small death. How many times have you ejaculated as a man and after you orgasm, you're like, right? What's happening energetically? Impotence. And I'm going to teach you next Sunday how to enhance your sexual potency through your orgasm rather than having your orgasm diminish your sexual potency, so that the more sex you have with someone that is important to you, not promiscuity, the more energy you can increase and cultivate. Number 3 thing that reduces sexual potency is chasing women, watching porn, and having relationships that are sexual without intimacy. It's a depletion. And I'm going to give it to you as an example. Have you ever seen one of your guy friends? You ever have a guy friend who was chasing a woman that was treating him like shit, not giving him any attention? And you see him chasing her all the time and she's constantly putting him down and walking away. How does that make you feel about your friend? Do you see how he's wasting his life energy and how he's giving his attention to something that is not elevating him, it's diminishing him? You see that? The same thing happens to us. When we are chasing things, women, porn, intimacy, that is not giving us equally, what we're doing is we're getting wasted. So what I want for you is to have relations with people who elevate you sexually, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise. I want you to deposit your sexual energy into fields that are receiving your sexual energy and your prayer, not just your sexual desires. And these are things that I want to share with you about. And I'm excited because we are at a level of really giving you these tools in a way that you're able to consume. And it's really fun and playful where you can actually use these tools in business. Guys, when I quit porn and when I started experimenting with these techniques that I'm going to be teaching you, my income went up. I would come to my financial advisory office, and the way I would speak to my clients and prospects, I was shocked. And the reason is that when we as men carry sexual shame, when we carry sexual burden, what starts to happen is it shows up in all of our engagements and all of our human interactions. I'll prove it to you. You ever approach a woman at work and you're not really trying to hit on her, you're not trying to sleep with her, but your connection with her, your communication with her, in the back of your head, you're like, oh my God, does she understand what a pervert I am? Does she know, can she sense like I just watched porn like a couple hours ago? Like, oh my God, is she ashamed of like how I'm feeling? Like, does she know? You know that conversation that happens in your head? That is what limits so much of the possibility in your life. And I'm able to take that conversation out of your head so that when you're in front of men or women, you're able to actually deal with people on intimate levels and earn their trust in ways that gets them to do things you never imagined. This is called influence, and this is the type of stuff that people have been talking about for thousands of years. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure you've heard of it. This book is like the second best sold book next to the Bible. And it's all about business and influence. It has an entire chapter of the book dedicated to sexual integrity, sexual transmutation, and how to do the things I'm going to talk to you about today. So let's talk about what actually increases our sexual potency, because it's really, really, really important. Number one, something called semen retention. Semen retention, otherwise known as semen control. I'll talk to you more about this if you join my Sunday class. I'll share with you about it in just a moment. Semen retention is how to orgasm without releasing your semen. What? The first time I heard that term, I thought it was some kind of a joke. But let me prove it to you biologically. Have you ever seen somebody sneeze and they sneeze and all the spit comes out? Most people. Have you ever seen somebody who's trained themselves so that when they sneeze, spit doesn't come out? And you're like, wait, the guy still sneezed. The same thing for your penis. I am able to show you how to ejaculate without releasing sperm, how to orgasm without releasing sperm. And what that does for men is when you start to practice and cultivate it, is every time you orgasm, instead of depleting and having a small death, you're actually igniting. And so it's very common for men who practice semen retention to have multiple orgasms in an evening and still go out and, celebrate and meet and close business instead of sleeping at home, eating pizza, and watching Netflix. Number two, how do you increase your sexual potency? Number two, prayer and intentionality. Remember what we said about promiscuity? Promiscuity is confusion and mixture. Prayer and intentionality is the opposite. It's, hey, what do I really want? What do I want every moment? What am I seeking? And the more you start to set intention and pray, the more you start to realize, okay, I don't really need these big booty, gorgeous women on Instagram. I don't need that. That's not in alignment with where I'm going. Wow, I didn't know that. Now that I'm intentional, I'm able to see what my desires are on a microscopic level. So the more you start to get into prayer state is, hey, I'm pulling away the distractions, all the gorgeous colors and the beautiful women and the scents. And here I am sitting in front of my command center, my altar, and asking, what do I really want to create every moment, every day, and every month? And the more you start to pray, the more you start to realize what distractions need to get rid of, what distractions need to get thrown away. Number three, heart-centered connections. Guys, heart-centered connections instead of dick-centered connections. What do I mean by that? The more you open your heart, the more you practice these tools that we teach about identifying your emotions, opening your emotional body, and connecting with others through the emotions rather than connecting through data or through sexual energy. How can we talk and connect emotionally? And the more you start to open your emotions and connect with others through the emotions, you'll see that the quality of the women you attract will be higher, that the sexual connections that you have will be so much more sacred and divine and so much more productive, because the monster truck that you were handed has so many more levers and so many more features than you've been taught. So the more you start to activate your emotional body, the more you start to take control of your penis and not allow it to penetrate every hole that it finds, the more you're able to have precision. You'll go from having a monster truck to a F-16 fighter jet pilot where it's precision driven. Number four actually, radical honesty with yourself. How honest are you willing to be with yourself? How honest are you willing to be about where you are? How honest are you willing to be about the woman that you've been sleeping with who isn't really the right woman for you? You've just been doing it because you're bored and you just need some love and you need some intimacy. And you see, just the fact that we talk about these things and say, wow, I feel scared, feel a little sad. I really desire intimacy with women, and I feel a little shame because I noticed I've been sleeping with a woman that doesn't really give me what I really need. Can I share that with another brother and allow him to hold space for me so that I don't need to carry the burden? Number five, prayer and devotion to your purpose and your goals. That's what gets you to be more potent. The more you are intentional, the more you're in devotion to your purpose, the more you're going to be cultivating your sexual charge and not giving it away like it's on sale at Costco, right? We want your sexual charge to be the diamond that they sell at the high-end jewelry shop in Beverly Hills. We want your sexual energy to be cultivated to the Rolls Royce that they sell in Monaco at the Monaco dealership. We don't want your sexual energy to be Costco or Walmart energy, right? And that is how you become a man that is purposeful and driven. So what does sexual potency look like? Like it looks like approaching a woman that you find attractive, taking a deep breath, looking her in the eyes, and instead of giving her a pickup line, sharing with her, hey, I just noticed you walk in. I feel a little shy to approach you right now, but I'm wondering if you're willing to have a conversation with me about how our life's purpose might be connected, or I'd love to know if you're willing to have a conversation with me around how shy we feel when we look at people in the eye and don't know what to say, even though there's something pulling us together in that moment, right? It's a whole different frequency of conversation when we're talking to people, not from a dick-centered place. And I want to teach you more about that next Sunday. Approaching customers and prospects. Guys, how many of you seen people at work who approach prospects and customers from a place of begging? And when our sexual energy is in its full potential, when we have cultivated our sexual energy, we're not depleted sexually, the way we talk to our customers and clients is way different than begging. I remember being a financial advisor, and when I started to practice these things, I would come to work, I would sit across the table from our clients, and I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, listen, I really appreciate doing business with you. And sometimes I feel shy and scared to really do this business because I know that supporting you is a big responsibility. And I also feel shy to speak to you in this direct way, but I would be honored and grateful to have you as my client. And my commitment to you is that no matter what happens, even when I get scared that I screw something up in our relationship, I will commit to radical honesty. I will always call you and speak with you honestly. I will always clean up the mess. And I don't know if I'm the best financial advisor in town, but I'll tell you, I'll never give up on you. I will always do everything I can as if your money is my money. Are you ready to move forward with me? And when I speak like that to clients, the client goes, blah, blah, blah. What? Sometimes I have to repeat because they've never been hit that potently, that directly. Most salespeople, they speak in ums and ahs and their bodies wiggling but you know what? People see that. And a lot of that is connected to our potency, sexual charge. So if you cultivate your sexual charge, you're able to penetrate with a lot more heart. And lastly, approaching your life's purpose. How much do you want to approach your life's purpose with full conviction, using your sexual energy to penetrate? And when you have an orgasm, that your orgasm is associated with your goals, your prayers. Your orgasm is not associated with shame and sadness and regret. So that's what I want to teach you. And I want to share with you two offerings.